Right, 1 year of the Jubilee administration. What are the challenges? What are the achievements? What are the shortcomings? What lies ahead? And just how much do you know your president, President Uhuru Kenyatta? Well, we have none other than the president to answer these questions for us today. Thank you so much, President Uhuru Kenyatta, for making time for us. 1 year since you took office. Very briefly, how has it been?
It's been difficult, it's been tough, but at the same time, I think we have been able to lay a firm foundation for the direction in which we want this country to take. And I think as much as this has been challenging, we have managed to be able to achieve a good number of things and laid the foundation on many sectors which we believe will ultimately help us with our agenda of transforming this country and really fast-tracking our ability of becoming a middle-income country even sooner than 2030.
You talked about challenges. What would you say is your maybe one big challenge you've faced so far, 1 year?
Well, I mean, we've had a number. You know, security continues to remain a challenge. The issue of ensuring that we get adequate employment, especially for our youth, continues to be a challenge. But as much as these challenges are there, I still consider them to be the greatest opportunity that we as Kenyans have once we are able to tackle them concretely going forward.
What would you say is the highest point of your presidency and the lowest of the last 1 year so far?
I think the lowest point would be the terror attack on Westgate. That indeed was a very difficult time, not just for me, but for the entire country. And that would undoubtedly be the lowest point. I think one of the highest is the work we have done in terms of the free maternal health care. Right. And 1 year down the road, seeing the increase in number of our mothers now having their births attended to by professionals, and actually increasing the number of mothers going to professional or for professional medical care from about 44% to 66%. Right. That's something that really I've really felt very good about that.
About it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course we commend you for that. What would you say is the thing that keeps the president awake at night? One of your major concerns?
Undoubtedly, like I've said, it is security. Making sure that we are able to get the security of this nation in order going forward. I think, like I said, there earlier, the challenge of how to get decent and adequate work for our young people is another major challenge that keeps me awake. And ultimately, to ensure that we are actually able to feed our people and to bring about a level of food security in this country, that we never really have to go through this routine famines that always occur. We want to make sure that that is a thing, of the past. I believe that if we're able to do that, that is the surest way we're going to be able to tackle poverty and establish long-term stability and prosperity of this nation.
Has it changed you as a person? Are there things that you've had to adopt to over the last 1 year that changed you as a person?
Well, definitely. I mean, the responsibility that one now bears is huge, and there's no way I can say that I was the same person I was 1 year ago. Because you are constantly, carrying this, 40 million Kenyans with you in every decision that you make, in everything that you sign, everything that you do. You have constantly got to, remind yourself that, if you make a mistake, it's a mistake that will affect 40 million people. So it definitely changes you. I mean, it's a great deal of responsibility, and there's no way you can continue to be the same person that you were before you had those responsibilities.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you rather?
Sorry?
What would you rather be? Person
Well,
before
for
or
me, I'm grateful that Kenyans gave me this opportunity to lead this nation for the next 5 years. It's a great challenge, but at the same time, I'm very clear as to what I have always wanted to do for this country, and Kenyans have given me that opportunity. So it's not that I would rather be doing anything else. It's my wish is just to continue to be able to build around me a very solid, strong team that can help me achieve those objectives that I have set out for myself, we have set out for ourselves as those of us who campaigned on the Jubilee platform. So it's just to get good men and women who share the same vision and carry the same dream for this country, and who are willing to give their 100% to help us together achieve those noble objectives that we've set out for ourselves.
Right. Evidently, your style is a bit different. You break protocol. You go and say hi to people. You even embrace the First Lady after her run. We've seen you take Nyama Choma outside with people. Critics say this is a president that is keen on coming to the level of Mwananchi, connecting with the Mwananchi, almost deliberately, but still doesn't connect with the issues of Mwananchi. What would you have to say to that?
I think that's very incorrect, because first and foremost, in terms of connecting, that's who I've always been. That's not something that I'm putting on. You ask anybody who has known me all my life, they will tell you. That's the Uhuru that's the Uhuru we know.
Yeah.
And in terms of connecting with Mwananchi, a lot of the programs that we are actually actively engaged in are actually issues that will change the lives of people. When we talk about improving the healthcare of this country, when we talk about this issue, like I'm saying, of free maternal healthcare, it's because we recognize the problems our mothers go through. We recognize the high incidences of maternal mortality and child mortality, and we need to be able to deal with those. Those are issues that affect Mwananchi. When we talk about food security, when we talk about the irrigation programs that we're talking about, what is our agenda? Our agenda is to ensure that we increase not just food production, but also deal with the fundamentals that have resulted in the prices of food in this country being high.
Right.
When we talk about subsidized fertilizer inputs, when we talk about irrigation, all of this is actually geared towards ultimately not just food security, but reducing the cost of food to Mwananchi.
Right.
When we look at the energy programs that we're doing, when we say we want 5,000 new megawatts in terms, and that will be affordable, because we know energy is a huge contributor to the cost of living. We have targeted ourselves to ensure that we bring down the cost of energy in this country from as high as about 25 US cents to below 10 cents.
Right.
That is something that is going to affect common Mwananchi.
Right.
When we have sleepless nights because of insecurity, it's because we know that the normal Mwananchi is suffering.
Yeah.
So when you say we're not connecting, I would tend to disagree. If and when, not if, but when, these programs that we have rolled out start to come into effect, it will impact dramatically
on the life of the ordinary
on the lives of the ordinary
That is the
Kenyans.
question I was coming to, because we still see critics saying you are doing all this, but there's no really reprieve yet for the life of the ordinary Kenyan.
You know, when you look at some of the programs that we're looking at, like I was saying, for example, when it's about security, for over 12, 15 years, there has been a huge underinvestment in security, all right? Huge underinvestment in security. So some of the things that we are actually tackling are not issues that started last year. These are issues that have been there. But we have taken the bold step of saying we must tackle, right, these issues. We must increase the number of policemen and women in the country. We must also improve their terms of service. That's why we're offering, and we've started, and we said by July we'll start the insurance scheme, so that we start working on their welfare. We plan to roll a major program for police housing. We plan to increase to 10,000 per year the number of policemen and women that we will recruit. We have, in this 1 year, at least gotten the 999 number once again activated. Yeah. We are making huge investment in police vehicles so that the response time, is reduced. These are not things that will be addressed in one day, but we have clear programs on what needs to be done, and we are pushing rapidly, right? But it will not be felt in a day. But once the programs are in place, people will definitely see, the impact on their lives.
Yeah, right. Very briefly on security, I know you said a lot about security. You've already said it was one of your lowest points, the terrorist attack at Westgate Mall, and specifically on terrorism. It has been happening time and again. People get injured, people have lost their lives. Of course, no country is free of terrorism, but critics again would say we almost look overwhelmed by terrorism.
Well, for sure, we have had, terrorism continues to pose a major threat, not just to Kenya, but to the entire globe. We are not the only victims of terrorism. Uganda has suffered the same, Tanzania has suffered the same, Ethiopia has suffered the same. Just talking about our neighborhood, you can see what's going on in Nigeria almost on a daily basis, right? And we are committed, and this is one thing that I want to be very clear about, that we will not let up on this war, that they may occasionally manage to get through, but we ourselves are committed to ensuring that we defeat this animal called terrorism. And this is something that we will not relent. We will not relent. And we're trying to bring communities on board. We're trying to bring religious leaders on board for them to be able to help us, in dealing with this vice, in dealing with the issue of radicalism, in dealing with the issues of that may affect young people in their particular areas, so that we can move them away from this radical element.
Right.
I can assure you that we are doing everything that we can to ensure that we contain it. And my constant appeal and wish is that we want Kenyans themselves to join us in this particular fight, for them to realize that there will never be enough policemen to be everywhere. So every citizen must accept that they have a role to play in helping us ultimately combat this evil of terrorism in this country.
Looking at you speak about terrorism, not once or twice, you've been very firm. Do you think really the security apparatus or security agencies in this country are on the same level as you are? Because critics keep saying, you talk, but things don't happen. Some say, even after the Westgate attack and such attacks, maybe we should have seen more drastic measures from the president, and some going as far as saying you may be beholden to some of the security chiefs.
No. It's not a question of being beholden to anybody. Let me say first and foremost that let's appreciate the scenario I told you earlier, of the fact that our security men and women are really working from a very from a position of a great deal of underinvestment over the years. This is something that we are trying to address, right? So that we can improve their ability, to combat some of these security issues that we have. We are putting a lot of pressure on them, even to update the manner in which they coordinate and they focus themselves. I cannot say that they have failed, because we also as a nation have failed in providing them with the right tools and instruments to do the job that they need to do. It is only when we have ensured that we have filled this gap that we then can say, actually, these people have totally failed. That's point number one. I think the second point that I would also want Kenyans to appreciate, right, is that for every single incident, and I don't want to get into the details, for every possible single incident of these people succeeding, yeah, there are numerous that have been thwarted, right? All right? Numerous cases that have been thwarted, yeah, in the process. So one has to also look, yeah, you know, at that, right? Because were it also not for the action of the security forces, yeah, I can assure you there are a good number of other attacks, yeah, that have been preempted before they have happened, right? Now, this is not to say, yeah, that we shouldn't continue to put pressure. We shouldn't continue to demand more from them. We must. And I personally am putting a lot of pressure on them, right? That despite the fact that we are working to help strengthen and better facilitate you, you know, as organs of security in this nation, yeah, you also equally, yeah, must look at some of your own issues, you know, because we must speak the truth. You know, we still recognize that corruption is still a major problem. So these are things that they themselves also must begin to handle and to tackle. Discipline, training, you know, right, to improve that as well. But we cannot say that there's been total failure, because total failure means, yeah, that your failure rate, yeah, is higher than your success rate, right? But I can assure you, without getting into details because I really can't, yeah, that the number of attacks that have been thwarted before they have happened, right, yeah, far exceed, yeah, the times that these evildoers, yeah, have managed to succeed. Right. So we must balance these two as we move forward. Very briefly, maybe you're talking about, it's very hard to quantify, like you said, yeah, but talking about success rate and the rate of failure, where would you put the success rate now, maybe on a rate of 1 to 10, and maybe where do you want us to go? Like I said, let me not get into that, yeah? I don't think it's appropriate for me to get into that, yeah? But what I can say is that I think they have done their best within the kind of environment that they have been working on. I think they can do better, especially with the kind of investment and support that we are giving them now and into the future, right? And to say that let us as much as we are to be critical, yeah, let us also acknowledge, yeah, that they have done quite a bit, yeah, despite, like I'm saying, the problems that they have, that they've had. But we will continue, yeah, given the fact that security is so important to the future of this country, yeah, we will continue to demand even more, you know, from them as we go forward. Right. Yeah. Mr. President, again back to the lowest point in your 1 year as president, the Westgate attack. You promised there will be an inquiry into this. Where are we with that? Well, like I said, you know, we said there was going to be an inquiry. Parliament then said there was going to be an inquiry. So we said you can't have the two, you know, running together. It doesn't make sense. It's a waste of resources. So we said, fine, let Parliament handle it, right? And we will wait for the recommendations as they will come from Parliament, because, you know, having two inquiries, I announced mine first, but immediately I announced mine. Parliament then said, well, we are also going to have an inquiry. So there was no point in wasting resources in doing two of the same, and I decided let Parliament, given the fact that it is an independent institution, let them take on the task, and we wait for the report and the recommendations. Right. Parliamentarians have not really adopted that report because they're saying it's not really substantive. So what next then? Well, I think we need to engage with Parliament, and we'll see what the next steps will be, because you know, we have to engage, and I intended to actually do that, to ask them, okay, since now you have rejected this, what are you proposing, you know, to do next? So I don't want to preempt them, since they have not been in communication with me on that particular issue. But I do intend to engage them to say, okay, so now what are you feeling? Well, are you going to review what you had done? Because are you going to bring it back? I have to engage with them, and that's the only thing I'm waiting to do before then we decide what we have to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Economists have been talking about the VAT, and of course it's important to raise revenues, as you've always been saying, and to expand it the way you did. But they've also been talking there's a need to expand it, but also reduce the rate of VAT. Especially the Institute of Economic Affairs and other economists have been talking about reducing it by 2 percentage points to about 14, to have an impact on the life of the Mwananchi.
I am in total agreement with that. And actually that is why we said let us move to expanding this VAT, right? Because we must first and foremost achieve a level where we are able to financially be independent. And that, the only way we're going to do that is through taxes. And that is why we have been saying that once we have done this, we will ultimately be able, once we have expanded the net, we will ultimately be able to reduce the rate, right, of VAT gradually going forward. But we've got to first of all
set a base.
Get the base, that then will enable us ultimately to reduce it, because we have expanded the coverage. And in the meantime, and that's what I've been saying to some of our critics, and we've been saying is, don't look at it from the perspective that things now are vatable, because taxes need to be paid, right? Let us look at what are we utilizing those taxes for. Let's focus on some of the obstacles that actually result in high cost of living. Let's see what we can do to fix the factors of production in agriculture, in energy, that result in higher prices, right? Because then let's work on a safety net. We have expanded, for example, the people who receive cash transfers,
right?
From 250 to 500,000. And our intention is to push that up to at least 1 million, so we are able to cushion, the most vulnerable, in our society, orphans, the elderly, the disabled, right? But we're not going to be able to do these programs without that tax base. And ultimately, if we are successful, and I believe truly that if we remain focused and we don't deviate ourselves and start, like I'm saying, engaging in parochial issues, within a very short time, Kenyans will be able to see the benefits of some of the decisions
and
that
the impact on their lives. The problem of the public wage bill, commendable again. You're taking a pay cut in the cabinet and the deputy president. You managed to make it an issue in public discourse. But critics still argue, how far can you go? And especially looking at some statistics being provided by your ministries, including the devolution ministry, talking about work that is being done by 3 public service officials, which can be done by 1 person in private, or senior government officials having like 5 people around them to help them in their work. Yet productivity is not really high, and we all know about that. Some critics still say you're not decisive enough. Why are we not seeing heads rolling if it's about why are we rewarding people who are not being productive?
Well, the first thing you've got to recognize is that a lot of these people are also permanent and pensionable. It's not that I can just wake up tomorrow morning and say, well, you're sacked. It doesn't work like that. That's why, we have a public service commission. And that's why we ourselves are the ones who have brought this debate to the fore. We have said, as a government, right, that this is an issue that we as Kenyans must begin to debate and to deal with, because it is no longer sustainable. And we have brought it to the fore. We have resulted in it having a national conference together with SRC and others to bring this issue to Kenya's attention. Today, SRC is in Wajir, meeting with leaders, collecting their views. So ultimately, that the decisions that we take must be owned. But I can't just walk in and say, well, half the civil service is sacked. Things just don't work that way. People may want it to happen, but they don't work that way. We're also at the same time, developing ways and to encourage, a number of them to take voluntary early retirement and trying to develop packages to help deal, with that.
Right.
But what we have said is that there will be no further employment, because that is a decision that we can take. We have frozen employment, except for, of course, the security sector, and others. But we're basically frozen while we reorganize and really get to grips with this bloated wage bill.
Right.
Yeah.
A decision I'm sure the president can take is on wastage. And I believe there is wastage in the government. What specific areas, maybe 1, 2, or 3, do you think there is wastage and you can curb wastage?
In fact, if you listen to my speech on last Thursday, you will know that we have taken and have put together a subcommittee of my cabinet, charged specifically with looking at areas of waste. Yeah. And we have a good number of recommendations that are coming up, and I'm hoping that within a very short time again, I will be able to publicly come out and announce and say, look, these are the specific areas where we as a national government are going to take action to curb excess and wastage in government, and move those resources to development, which is what we actually need to be doing very soon. I don't want to preempt the report, but like I'm saying, we will come out very publicly and tell Kenyans, these are the areas that we have looked at, and you will see a definite reflection of that in the upcoming budget.
Right. With all due, Mr. President, all due respect to the measures you're taking and the cabinet secretaries and the plan and the audit, some say the problem is still the ministers are involved in the problem. Why should you have an audit? Shouldn't you have another audit, an external audit? Of wastage?
Well, at the end of the day, external audits can be done. But I'm saying, why should we waste resources? We have charged these men and women with the responsibility of prudently managing, right, their ministries, right? So I have got to tell them, look, it is up to you, to ensure that you reduce wastage in your ministry. Not up to you getting somebody to come in, because then it means that you failed in your job. So actually, if it boils down that I have to get external assistance, it therefore means that that person is the one who should be out of a job. So mine is to say, no, it is your responsibility. You are the person I've charged with the responsibility of running Ministry X or Ministry Y. We want to ensure that you remove wastage from your ministry, right? And it is you ultimately who must go through and say, this and this and this is what I am going to do, or this is unnecessary expenditure, and we are going to stop it. This is the number of trips that we're going to be making. These are the key ones that we must make. These ones we don't need to make. These ones we can be represented by our ambassadors, It must be, you're the chief executive of that ministry. Why should I go and pay? Then that's the person I should be employing.
Although, Mr. President, again, with all due respect, it's been 1 year and they've been the chief executive of the ministries, and wastage was still going on.
Let's call a spade again. Like I said, this debate that is currently ongoing is not a debate that was started outside. We ourselves as government, when we met at our retreat, are the same ones who acknowledged and said, this is a problem that we must deal with, right? We jointly took ownership, we jointly stood up and said that even as we tackle this, we must begin by reducing our own salaries, so that even as we go into looking at other areas, all right, we have the moral right and the moral standing to do so.
Exactly.
So it is not that somebody from the outside has come and told us that we are the ones who are saying, we recognize we have wastage and we want to do something about it.
Right. You were in Mombasa with MCAs, and you agreed to they wanted grants, car grants and mortgages. First, critics have been arguing, is it that encroaching into the work of the SRC as an institution? And two, doesn't that smack of doublespeak when you're talking about wastage, and SRC had already set what these MCAs should earn?
I think if you heard me correctly, What I said is that there must be equity, there must be fairness, right? First and foremost. And I said that I agree with the logic and the principle that it's either we scrap all grants, right, and everybody goes for loans, or everybody should be entitled. I mean, it's as simple as that. Right? But I made it very clear, right, that I am talking purely from a point of view of logic and equity. Not from the fact that I can give. I have no power to say that they should get or they shouldn't get. I was offering them my opinion that their argument is logical. That either SRC should get rid of all grants and everybody becomes entitled to a loan. I think it's correct. Or, because you can't have one group of leaders getting this and another being told you can't. It must be. There must be some level of equity. But the decision as to whether they will scrap grants or whether they will give everybody loans or whatever ultimately remains with SRC. I was giving my opinion, unless you're saying I'm not entitled to give an opinion.
But of course, again, they will say SRC will feel under pressure after hearing the president talk about this.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I've said numerous things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that independent agencies must follow
what you say.
Exactly. Okay. I think you've seen where different commissions disagree with me on a number of issues. So why should it be any different?
You're talking about 40 million Kenyans. A decision you make is a decision that affects 40 million Kenyans. One thing people have been saying from your style of leadership, how it's different from other presidents or your predecessors. We've seen them having what we call the so-called kitchen cabinets. Who do you really talk to when you have to make this very hard decision? And do you have such a thing as a kitchen cabinet? Many people have tried to decipher who has your ear.
No, I don't have anything like a kitchen cabinet. I think I have 18 men and women who form my cabinet, who indeed would be my close advisors, together with the advisors who you are already aware who are specialists in various areas. Those are the people who I would consult with on a regular basis. As we make key decisions going forward. The Deputy President is somebody who we also consult with on a very regular basis. But to say that there is a little group or clique, no, I don't really believe that. I think that's where issues start going wrongly, because ultimately, whatever decisions I make have to be implemented by somebody. So you need to get those people who are involved and who manage those dockets to be your kitchen cabinet. That's the only cabinet that you need.
Right.
Involve the men and women who are going to be tasked with the job of carrying out, to be part of the decision-making process, so that they have ownership as they go and execute these programs.
Right. Speaking of your relationship, of course, you've said with the Deputy President, we've always seen you laughing. There's always this joke that you seem to share, and you're always seen, publicly at least, you're in very good books. We know
privately too.
Privately too, okay. Confirmed now. We know the politics that goes on in this country, and sometimes cynics try to say there may be rifts between you and the Deputy President. When such things happen, how do you relate with him? How do you solve any problems that are...
We don't even call them what problems. There are no problems. You know, maybe people out there go and try and create the impression that there's a problem, but there is nothing. So
right. Like
we are just, the one thing we have always said, and I have always told him, is that ours is to ensure that we don't allow politics of yesterday to dominate us today. We are here with a very clear agenda, mutually agreed between ourselves and all those who are with us in the Jubilee, that we want to transform this country. We have no time to waste on petty politics. And I think you've heard me on virtually every political platform I've been on for the last year to say that I am not ready to engage in politics of negativity. Who did this? Who said that? Who said this? I want to focus my 5 years on making a difference in the lives of the people of Kenya. That's it. Yeah.
Nobody knows what the future holds. How long do you think this relationship with the Deputy President will last?
my clear image is that it will last for the next 20 years. That's where we want to go. We're not going to achieve our transformational agenda. We are not going to achieve us as a country becoming a middle-income country if we are going to be diverted every 5 years. It is a long-term plan that must succeed, because some of the things and some of the initiatives that are taken today must be carried through and sustained over a period of time if they are to have the right kind of impact. And the one thing that has always ruined our country is that we always allow petty, parochial politics to interfere with the long-term agenda of this republic. And that is something I am personally committed to changing.
Right. You're watching The Big Question. We're taking a short break now. Stay tuned.